And over here is Erin, who is joining me for our conversation today on game masters and players and how we can have the best dynamic between them for everyone involved. Erin, could you talk to me a little bit about what it means to be a great game master? What are some different jobs a game master is expected to do?
So, game master, your job is manyfold. Uh, First and foremost, you are customer service. Um, but I will say it's like the most fun version of customer service there is. It tends to be a much more lax atmosphere. And
Mm-hmm.
if like somebody does something to destroy or damage your property, you always have the right to refuse them service or to ask them to leave. And I feel like that's a lot easier working in an escape room than it is any other customer service job I've ever had in my life. You're also, unfortunately, for some groups, you are a babysitter. Uh, Sometimes that's literal. If they bring their kids in there and the kids are too young, which is always not a great time. Sometimes it's a bit metaphorical if they are, quite sauced, and you've got to kind of hold their hands and steer them away from the electrical sockets, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
You're also a bit of a show person because, again, you're selling this experience. Puzzles could be challenging or not, depending on who the group is. But if the presentation of the whole thing is a delight, then they will recommend it to their friends no matter what.
Yeah. So the first thing that you're doing when you are game mastering is like you're obviously watching the games as they're being played. What do you think is the most important thing for being able to give good cluing?
I think the very most important thing to be able to give good cluing is to have played the room yourself with a small
Mm-hmm.
group. Maybe just like one person it, or maybe you and one other employee tackle it. I think that's the most important way to kind of understand the kind of mental roadblocks other people are going to run into. Once you know why someone's hitting a certain roadblock, you can better clue them away from that.
I find that it's really easy to just call players stupid when you're behind the screen and you know how the puzzle goes, but you have to keep in mind that they're not stupid. You just have more knowledge than them. Like you've studied these puzzles, you've played other ones, you know how they flow. Of course they're going to seem silly, but they're not. They're just doing their best.
It's
Um,
especially for those newbies who have not done this before and are really enthusiastic. And I will take somebody who's a little destructive accidentally if they are super enthusiastic and like
yes.
really happy to be there, because always that will have come from a point of, oh, sorry, I didn't know, I didn't know that I
Yeah.
couldn't do that, but
Yeah.
that's great. I was like, yeah, I'll encourage that.
So if a group is destructive, what is your job as the game master?
So some people frown on going into the room during the game. If somebody's being destructive, they'll like maybe send a little clue on the screen that's in the game room, or they'll hop on the microphone and just say, "Hey, just so you know, don't do that." I find going into the room when this happens the first time, and not like scolding anybody, but just your very presence of entering the room kind of lets them know, okay, whoa, that I
Mhm.
did a big no-no there. Even if your tone is like, oh hey, so just keep in mind, if no need to climb on anything, no need to use any brute force. So yeah, please don't do that. All right, cool, thank you.
And that goes back into also having a character
Mhm.
that you play rather than just being yourself. If you have a character that fits into the world, it makes a lot more palatable for a player to know when you go into the game, it's as that character and you belong. And it can even enhance the experience for a player.
Yeah,
So if something breaks in the game and needs to be replaced or a wire falls out, and as the game master, it's your job to go in and fix it on the fly. You not only have to watch them and clue them and intro them and give them the rules, you have to be able to fix the game in case they break. What are some other things that you would find valuable in being able to do as a game master?
a necessary part of being a game master is like definitely the clues that you give. There is an art to it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to give away the puzzle. I get so irritated when I just need like a hint or someone to tell me to look in a certain direction and I can get it from there. Or if the clue comes too early when I feel like I had, a bit more to do about it. I think it's very helpful to have rough time set for certain
Yes.
puzzles.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot to be said for wording your clues in ways that match your room. Like if you are, let's say, in a tomb or something, and the clue goes, hey, remember to click the button. It's just not as nice as the ancients believed that to unearth certain locks, holding a certain switch while turning, like,
Yeah. You want to make sure that you keep the immersion of the theme of the game and like where the players think they are story-wise within the clues. At the beginning of a game, when a team has come in, it is your job to give them rules. So do's and don'ts of what to do inside of a room. And there are a bunch of different ways that I've seen of how to do it. Just being able to say, here's a list of rules and go over it at the beginning in person. I've seen a lot of videos that people are leaning towards these days. Can you talk to me a little bit about what the core rules are and what you think the best time, place, delivery for those rules is?
Do not use brute force. Don't bring in any outside tools. The glued, screwed, stapled, tied thing is pretty standard. And for most rooms, telling people not to climb on anything.
As players, also for more enthusiasts, you've heard these rules a bunch of times.
Yeah.
So there are times when having those rules so ingrained in your head can be a negative because it can limit what you think you're able to do in the room.
It absolutely can. And that's why I think it's so important to like have a character or use humor in your intros, because then even if it's a super seasoned puzzle player who has heard this same thing a bajillion times, at least you're doing something new with it, and that's kind of like catching their ear and reigniting them to pay attention. So maybe they will catch something that they weren't expecting.
I would love it if you could do a little bit of improv with me.
Sure.
Okay, pretend that you are a first-time game master. You've never done it before. You're still probably like in college. You don't really care about it. What is like the worst introduction for a game that you could give? A set of players comes in. How are you going to introduce the game to them?
Oh, hey, welcome to puzzle games. So what we're going to do, you're going to be in a room. You'll figure it out. Yeah, just, explore the space. Goodbye.
Great. Gives them nothing. They don't know what they're in for. Doesn't feel like a fun time.
Encourages them to break things.
Yeah. So next, I would love it if you could show me like what your best professional escape room game master looks like. Just, standard, good, polished game master.
Welcome, everybody. Hope you're all having fun. Who is here to play an escape room? If people raise their hands, say, great, you all fell for it, but you're here now, no escape. So here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna be in a room for about an hour. There are just a couple things to keep in mind. No need to climb on anything. If it is glued, screwed, stapled, or tied, please do not unglue, unscrew, unstaple, or untie it. You do not need to use any tools. If you have a screwdriver, how did you get that in here? Stop it, don't. All the electrical outlets that you see are real. There's no secrets in them. It's just electricity. And you've been warned now, so whatever happens is on you. And also, no need to climb on anything. If it's outside of your reach, it is not part of the game. And the answer is never, ever, ever using brute force. If you find yourself using more strength than a finger's worth, stop it. That's not how you do that. And I'll probably make fun of you. I will make fun of you. That's like a basic standard intro.
Great. Now, that felt very, rules heavy, letting you know what's up. Got a good number of jokes, introducing just generally, here's what a puzzle is. Now, if you are not just introducing the game as you, but you are a character in whatever game you're going to introduce them as,
Mhm.
what would an introduction from that kind of person look like?
All right, I'm gonna channel uh, a dumb character. I
Do
think
it.
for one.
Do it.
So there's this room we had where basically they all the guests are on a CIA bomb squad,
Mhm.
and I'm playing a high up guy in the FBI. Uh, yeah, all right, everybody, I want all y'all to take a seat. Yeah, listen up. You're gonna be the bomb squad, and what I need y'all to do is use your eyes and ears and communicate as a team. Now, there's no need to look underneath the rug or in the ceiling. I did a preliminary check of there. That's all fine, good. You're probably going to find a bunch of codes and locks around this office. I don't know what the codes are. I thought I was a good enough friend to the guy who worked here, but rude awakenings all around. But I think you probably they're probably 4-digit codes, and you probably end them with pressing the little pound symbol, or if you're born in the '90s, the hashtag symbol. Stuff like that. I'll probably
Yeah.
yeah.
And that definitely, it brings a little bit more immersion into the game, um, and it makes it more fun for a player to really feel like they are in a game, not just to solve a random selection of puzzles,
Yes.
but actually play through the whole story, and the puzzles are there for a reason.
I feel like it's the best environments for these are where there is the opportunity to do a character. Like the whole structure of the escape room is modeled in some way that encourages your game masters to be creative, because
Hmm.
then they will just go off, and then they will start one-upping each other. Like,
Yes.
that character used to talk like this, and then other people are doing cop voices too, and I just decided I wanted to go weirder with it, and
Yeah.
then a lot of fun.
And knowing that you're in a place as a employee where you are allowed to have fun with it and go hard, because like the harder that you go into a character or into the immersion of the room, the more immersed the players will be, and I think at the end that's how they're going to have the most fun.
Yes,
Right? Because
even if
the
they
number
don't win, they'll have had a
exactly
fun time.
right, and like the whole point of escape rooms is to have fun. So the number one job of a game master is to make sure that the players have as much fun as possible.
I feel like in terms of like the video to the verbal intro, I think it's fine to have a brief video and then do a brief intro. Get a feel for the group. If it's a group that has heard all this before and you're confident, you don't need to do a big intro. If a group seems a little rowdy or a little too into their jokes than they are paying attention to the video, restating some of those things, you might feel like you're being redundant, but ooh boy, does it save you.
It pays off. It pays off.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely the intro at the beginning is a great time to get a grasp on what type of group you're about to get. So what kind of things during the intro do you see to let you know that it is going to be a really awesome group, that these are going to be great players?
Often, if they are engaging with me in a joke, or like if I'm starting to like set the tone of
Hmm.
a universe that they have walked into, and they're asking questions that play into that, I know that okay, this is going to be great. They're game for anything.
Hmm.
If you have groups that are not really responding to humor or the pageantry of it, and you know for a fact that they can understand your language. They probably aren't as into the pageantry, so you could probably tone that down and then just get them into the room. They're probably just there to play.
Let's play some puzzles.
Yeah.
So if you're giving your rules, what are some tells to be able to let you know that this is going to be a bad group, that they are going to give you a little bit of a headache during your game?
So one of these that's always a tell is while you're going over the rules, if they are talking to each other and not paying attention to you. And when that comes up, my favorite technique is stop explaining and stare at them and wait for them to notice, because inevitably either they will and they'll shut up, or the rest of their group and their friends will be like, hey, Jeremy.
I would love if you could model for me different kinds of introductions. So say you have a drunk group come in, how would you best intro the game to try to make sure that they are able to best play the game?
One thing that I find that really helps is humor, and not just like self-deprecating humor, kind of like a humor that sets a tone of, hey, we're all here to have fun, but you're in my house. One thing that's really helpful is if you are an owner and you hire a bunch of actors, improvisers, and nerds, they'll all come up with funny stuff and just have everybody share different points. Like everybody will cherry pick their favorite stuff. If I've got a drunk group coming in and they seem a bit rambunctious, I'll joke around with them a little bit, but I will tend to pick out the one who is the most, and I'll very quickly just do some standard jokes that make them the butt of the joke. Like one place I worked, to get to any of the rooms, you had to go through a time vortex. And I would often say, so guys, we're about to head through the time vortex. Don't worry, nobody explodes. It probably won't happen to you. Then I'll look at the bad person and go like, might happen to you. And then I'll look back at everybody else and go like, well, probably won't happen to you. Subtle little jokes like that of like calling them out, but not giving them the platform to respond.
Yes.
Engaging them real quick, point them out, and keep going. Kind of puts everybody on the notion of, all right, and then they'll start policing themselves too.
Yeah. Well, if a player knows that I'm watching you this whole time, and I'm very specifically watching you, you're far more likely to be on their best behavior. A game master is only as good as the tools that they have at their disposal, right? What physical tools do you think a game master needs?
Everything breaks. If you don't, whenever you're buying anything, buy 3 of them. I mean, physical tools, you need to have a clear line of sight to
full camera coverage.
Yes. Every corner, every problem spot, like it's necessary, because you don't want to lose time thinking that they're doing something and cluing them to the wrong thing. And then 10 minutes later, you realize, oh no, I've been wasting their time.
As well as full microphones, like there's a lot to be said for not only seeing, oh, this drawer is open, oh, they've moved into the next room, but also hearing them, I found this paper here, I wonder what it's for. And then keeping in mind throughout the rest of the game, they've found that paper. They forgot about it and left it 2 doors down. Maybe you should remind them to go grab it.
If you can't hear them, you cannot do your job properly.
You said that you need to have lots of different social skills to be able to be a good game master. You're obviously dealing with a lot of different people. So what non-physical tools does a game master need to succeed? Obviously, training on the puzzles, being able to understand, basic puzzle design. So in case you need to work around a specific part of the puzzle, being able to do that. But what other things could an owner provide to help a game master be their best self?
I think a basic improv class is so incredibly helpful for pretty much every job in the world, because learning how to think on the fly and adapt and more importantly, learning that it's okay to get things wrong as long as you just keep moving,
Yeah.
it's going to be fine. I think also having a bit of, I think it's very much on the owner of the company to empower their employees in letting them know you have the right to refuse somebody's service. If you do not feel
Mhm.
safe or if you feel like they are going to be a danger, the game master needs to feel comfortable enough to reinforce that, to give someone
Yeah.
the warning saying, I've warned you once. If I have to come back in here again, I'm sorry, but we will have to ask you to leave.
Mm.
Uh,
A really strong tool that an owner can give their game master, their employee, is just the knowledge that they are trusted
yes,
and that the owner will have their backs for the decisions that are made.
100%. You can,
Yeah.
as an owner, you cannot reinforce that enough. Like
Yeah.
it is so necessary. Like especially if you've got, let's say, a smaller female or gender non-binary person, and they've got a group that maybe sees that as something to not be respected.
Mhm.
You need to reinforce that your employees feel safe and safe enough to remove a threat. And
Yes.
by that, I want to clarify my language. When I say remove a threat, I mean murder someone.
Yeah, we definitely support. This is a joke.
Yes,
We
yes, this is kidding.
definitely
Do not murder.
support murder. Um, yeah, and I think the only way a owner could have that full amount of trust and support in their game master is through a very full training, right? Being able to say, as a game master, I had training in knowing that if I saw someone who I felt harassed or threatened by, that I was able to ask them to leave. And knowing that that is, written in a handbook, you're not going to get fired for it. The owner will have your back for it is just so wildly important.
Yeah, especially like you just said, having a handbook. The amount of places that escape rooms that don't have like a written down set of policies or
Mm-hmm.
rules, it's an escape room. You're going to get employee turnover. Some people are going to be there for a couple months. Some people are going to be there a year. It's,
The turnover is
the
high.
turnover's high.
It's
You need to make sure
these
everybody knows all of the rules and they're all on the same page.
and also a handbook helps create a fuller company culture.
Yes.
So you know that you are going to be in a place that respects you and that wants you to have the tools at your disposal. And a handbook is a really great way to show that you have those tools literally written out for you and you're able to refer back to them and know that everyone has these same tools.
If you are the owner of an escape room, the biggest thing to keep in mind when it comes to talking to your employees about running a game or designing a game is that they have a bit more in-depth perspective than you do,
Mhm.
because they are the ones running the games multiple times a day, continually. They know where the hiccups are coming in. They have ideas on how to smooth things out, and sometimes you're gonna have to just curb your ego and kill your darlings. The more you respect the opinions of these people that you have hired to run these games and their ideas, the better your company will do 100% of the time.
Having a codified feedback loop, I think, is really
Yes.
important. So knowing that as a game runner, if I see something that has broken repeatedly, or if I see a part of the puzzle that literally no one gets and it always has to be clued, that's not a good thing. That means that that part of the puzzle isn't smooth. And if I have a suggestion on how to fix it, or even if I don't, knowing that I can send those along to someone who can fix it and who has the authority to change the puzzle or to make it a better game and that I'll be listened to is really is huge.
Yeah, and to go even deeper, I feel like a lot of people view like running an escape room as a very lax kind of business, and in some ways it can be. Like you're definitely gonna have fun at this job. It's a job where you should be having fun or you're not doing it right. uh
Hmm.
but that does not in any way exclude you from needing to get some form of HR department, because
Yes.
one of your employees may have an issue with you and you may need to hear that so you can grow, but they might not feel comfortable saying it directly to you. So you need to have multiple avenues for employees of all different ranks to reach out.
As an owner, I know that it often feels like that is an unnecessary expense for a small company. But as an employee, it is absolutely invaluable to know that you have a place to go that is specifically designed to hear your problems.
Look in
And
her eyes. Look in her eyes when she says this. We look in my eyes right now. We have seen some stuff. We have experienced some stuff. We're not kidding. Listen to her.
There needs to be an outlet for employees to be able to speak their minds and not feel threatened when they need to. On a lighter note,
let's
talk about costuming.
It's all a good fun time, but seriously, get an HR department.
So yeah, let's talk about some costumes.
Yes.
Theming and immersion, as we have said, are absolutely vital for making sure that a game is as fun as it can be for your players and your game masters. They can get into it. So, how do you feel about like different costume items for game runners? What do you think makes a good one or a bad one?
I think it's a great look when the employees all have a theme in their costumes. Like perhaps you're in a mad scientist's lab, so everybody is wearing lab coats. Or perhaps you are in some dark, scary dungeon. Maybe everybody, I don't know, has a hood. I don't know. But leave room for the employees to personalize that to another level.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say these costume pieces that like imply a uniform, I do mean a costume piece. I do not think like having all of your employees in a polo shirt with your company logo on it, that's very corporate, and that's not the vibe that people are coming to an escape room for. That's not very fun.
I've seen it, and I appreciate knowing that like a front desk employee is dressed nicely. Like if I come in, I don't want to see someone in like a ratty band t-shirt.
Yeah.
But like I also don't need to see every single person dressed identically. Like this isn't Denny's. It's an escape room.
Yes, there should be fun and individuality here.
There should never be any sort of competition between escape rooms, because you want to make sure that everyone plays as many as possible, which means if everyone's games are really great, they're going to come back and play more. Making sure that every one of your game masters across the board is fantastic will make it so that they'll come back and play your game. So they'll understand that like these are people making a fun game for other people.
I really like how you touched upon you're not really in competition with other escape rooms. It like in some ways it'll feel like that, but long term you're not. You know, if there are other escape room companies that you enjoy, befriend them. Work out things where you can each give each other employees a discount to come play, because when someone is done playing what all the rooms at theirs and they're like, man, I still got more room.
Got that itch.
I got that itch. They'll recommend yours and vice versa. It's keeping it it's more of a community than it is a one-off business.
Definitely. We talked a minute ago about kind of the anatomy of a good group versus a bad group, right? When a team walks in, you can pretty immediately tell how they are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other sort of like what is your idea of a bad group?
My idea of a bad group is a group that is either not engaged. Like there are sometimes running rooms that some people will come in to play and you'll just wonder, why did you come here? why did you volunteer for this? You blatantly hate all of it. And I'll never understand those people.
I feel like the most upsetting is when I see a group come in and only the person who booked knew what they were getting in for.
Yeah.
And everyone else is like, excuse me, I'm claustrophobic and don't like puzzles. And you're like, could you not have told your friends like a little bit ago? Because I can only do so much to make sure your experience is fun when their expectations are already so negative.
Yes. Like we can only do so much damage control if they're not coming in to have a good time.
Yeah.
Groups that like come in, if a group comes in and they're loudly joking, that could go either way. And I don't tend to have like a good finger on that pulse until I directly try to engage with the group and I see how they respond to listening. But like that tends to be when I decide, okay, I'm probably going to need to repeat things a couple times.
I also think like in part of the rules setting out, if you need to leave the room for any reason, just do it.
Yeah.
Like it's so much more fun for everyone if like you have the illusion of being locked in, but you really have the freedom. So like if I desperately need to go to the bathroom in the middle of a game, do you think I'm gonna have more fun by staying in there and like trying to pretend that I don't? No. Like I would like to be able to go if I need to go.
Here's a good test to see if your room is genuinely fun. Don't lock the door. If the people playing it don't try that door out of boredom or whatever, you have a good room because they'll open it when they've earned it.
And there's definitely, I've seen a lot of players come through that they think the goal is genuinely just to get out of the room instead of the goal is to play the puzzles that are put out for you that are the entertainment. And being a good game master means expressing that to your players before the game, being able to tell them, listen, you are able to get out, but that's not what you're here for. You're here to play puzzles and have a good time.
So if you have a group, it's like, I escaped, I beat the time. You can be like,
yep, sure did, buddy.
You must be very proud of yourself. This must be the biggest win of your life. Like, really read them. And, as long as you're not, as long as you don't slip into vitriol or like outward insulting, you just stay nonplussed and unamused, they will kind of get the hint.
As you should always be in control. The game runner should always be in control of the situation. So regardless of what kind of group you have, if they are the most experienced, if they're first time players, as a game master, you should have the tools and the training to be able to make sure that all those different kinds of teams have fun, that they go in and play the best game possible through like your impeccable resetting, that they don't get stuck during the game because your clues are good, that they don't feel upset when they get a clue because that's part of the experience. And one of the key aspects of being a good game master is knowing how far a team should get. You always want to make sure that teams feel like they can finish in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
As close as you can get a team to finish in that like last 30 seconds, like that's the best feeling.
Every time I've seen a group beat a room in like under a half hour, they were never, ever, ever as satisfied or as happy as a group that beat it in the last 10 to 5. Like,
and yeah, once again, that depends on the type of group. Like I've definitely played a lot of games and finished in, half an hour, 45 minutes. And sometimes it's because the game was just really awesome and it flowed well and the puzzles all made sense and we got all the bits of the story and we didn't need any cluing, and like that can be a really great game. But also it could be a sign that the puzzle is too easy, or it could be a sign that the game master has overclued. So
If they
Yeah.
escape and their answer and their response is that it? Did we win?
Yeah.
You probably need to rethink how you end it.
Probably that's a sign for an owner to maybe add a little bit more difficulty in the puzzle or more puzzles.
Yeah.
But once again, having the tools for a game master to be able to take that kind of feedback from the player directly and give it to an owner and know that that could be acted upon, that's good. So I want to wrap this up by saying that game mastering is a really good job.
I very much enjoy it. It's the best day job ever for someone who needs a flexible schedule, because there are times I had to run out for an audition and it's super easy for somebody to cover your game for a half hour. It should be a very fun environment where your employees are being creative and coming up with other ideas that you are implementing. Because if you're not hitting that mark, your business is not doing as well as it could be for this. It just isn't.
The if at the end of the day the job is to have fun, then you should also be having fun.
Yes.
And that's one reason why like it is such a great job if it is done well, if your game master has support from the owners, if they have their tools, if they have good training, and if they feel empowered to be their best self, then it can be a really rewarding, fun job. And you get to play games with people all day long. Like, who doesn't want to do that?
And it's very satisfying to see a group that's into it win. Like,
Yeah.
when they've earned it, when like a group like, oh man.
You ride that high
Yeah.
as much as they do. Like following along every single step that they're doing and just seeing when a team has the puzzles click, it's so rewarding to watch.
Yeah, it's satisfying. It's satisfying
Yeah.
seeing people genuinely have fun and feeling proud of themselves.
Yeah.
What was it? So I was in Portland, Maine a couple of years ago, and I went to an escape room, and I like to one person rooms. And I did really well, and I one person a room, and I asked them, did I just get the fastest time for a one person? And they said, you got the second fastest time for a one person. Couple weeks later, I'm back in New York. I'm at my job, and there's a guy who comes into one of our rooms. He did really well. And after he's done, he and I are talking, and I mentioned how I just one personed that one room in Portland, Maine, and he ended up being the guy who had beaten my time. So when I went back to Portland, he and I tackled a room together and set the new record.
I'm sorry, you made an escape room buddy friend because you both like to solo rooms?
Yeah. And then we tackled one together and kicked its ass.
That's so wholesome.
It was a great time.
Yeah.
If you're watching, hi, Scott.
I can't think of a better note to end on. That's lovely. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you for having me. This was a delight.
Hi, I'm David.
And I'm Lisa. And we're from RoomEscapeArtist.com, the hosts of Recon, the Reality Escape Convention.
This was one of 15 talks that we put on at Recon Global this year, a digital convention for the escape room and immersive gaming industries, for players and for owners and everyone in between. They gathered on August 23rd and 24th of 2020.
We're releasing all 15 of these talks about once a week over the coming months so that they'll be accessible to you. To find them, you subscribe here to the Room Escape Artist YouTube channel. And if you're interested in more information about Recon, go to realityescapecon.com and subscribe to the newsletter.
We put on Recon completely for free because we didn't want there to be financial barriers. We are, however, supported by our Patreons, and so we're thankful to those who are already supporting us. And if you have the ability to support us right now, and you want to, and you like what we're doing, we would really appreciate it. People who back us get early access to these videos along with a whole bunch of other perks.
That is the Room Escape Artist Patreon page. And if you're enjoying these videos and this industry, please support the creators in the space. Play their games in person or virtually. They're doing so many innovative things right now, and we hope that you'll enjoy those.